All right. Welcome back to In the Mind of Music on iporadio.com for another exclusive interview. Um, we have right now on the phone, and we are definitely excited to introduce Paul Johnson, and we have Zach as well, Zach Lewis on drums from Paul Johnson and the About Last Nights. And you guys are from Mississippi, right?
That's correct. Yeah, we are from Mississippi.
Yeah, how you guys doing?
We're doing great. How are y'all? Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, we're doing
It's been a
good,
blast.
man.
Thank you.
Aw, you guys even have the accent from
Right?
Mississippi. That's super
yeah,
sweet.
Let's go on
nobody-
and clear the air.
never-
I'm from Florida.
He's on
okay.
from Florida.
Yeah,
Well,
very
one of
good.
you guys.
Yeah, I'm probably me. I only hear that when I go somewhere other than the South because everybody doesn't think I have it here, and I go somewhere else and it's just spotted.
Oh, well, it's definitely charming.
We'll take that
Yeah.
all day.
Right, right. Always a nice compliment. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, so give us a brief history about the band. When did it start? And did you guys all know each other for years before grouping together to form the band as it is now? Or did you guys just recently meet? Tell us.
Yeah, I mean, I'd hate to say it was just it's like typical, man, but we all played in like a bunch of bands growing up. I mean, we've been playing music probably since like 15 in our garage. So we put a lot of work in just being really, really, really bad at an early age and getting it out of our system and just playing and learning our instruments. And we formed a lot of bands over the years. And I've known Zach now probably about 10 years just through that circuit and kind of playing together, doing, music together and writing and stuff. And now it's just at a point where, the About Last Nights is our main focus and is what we're passionate about. We're just excited about what we've done and the record. And Kill If It Goes is going to be dropping on May 1st. And I don't know if you guys watched the video for Burn It Down, but
Yes.
we're ready to kind of blaze the trail.
Right, right. And you actually answered one of the questions I had because I was trying to look around. I think I saw one of you guys mention that May 1st was going to be the drop of the album because somebody was asking eagerly in the comments about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so your fans are definitely excited. That is so cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love it. I mean, I'm glad we're getting good responses so far from, because we're an indie band, we're under the radar and so we're just, we're working our way up, man, club after club.
Right.
And post after post, just, we're self-starters. I mean, that's what you got to do in this business now, you got to put the work in and there's really no payoff other than just the love of it. And that's
being
kind of where we
grateful
are
for
right
every
now.
single kid that shows up.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, we are. We're grateful. We're so grateful to see anybody like anything we're doing. We're totally humbled by it.
Well, yeah, for sure. And we're definitely, here to help support, and we appreciate you guys being on here to help us.
Oh yeah,
Very
thank
much so,
that.
yeah.
Thank
we're
you.
helping each other. So, back.
Absolutely.
So taking a couple steps back here, I gotta ask. I know it's kind of old hat to ask about, why you name a band the way you do, but I guess I gotta ask, what is the deal with the About Last Nights? What's going on with that?
Well, it's really really simple, and we're just I'm not shy about this at all. I mean, we were sitting around and we're thinking, we're listening to the sound that we're creating, we're listening to kind of the vibe. And our influences and stuff. It's like, we are different, but we're rock and roll. We probably play with just about anybody under that rock and roll banner, but, we have our own thing. So it's like what do we do? What do we call it? How do we kind of make ourselves just a little different? And one of our biggest influences, I think, collectively is Tom Petty and the Heartbreak.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we're like, how do we have a name that cool? And we just kind of laughed about it. Like, so we all just wrote down names on a piece of paper, very cliche. Just wrote down names on a piece of paper.
Oh, man.
And I don't even remember, I really don't remember who came up with it. I don't. But it was the name everybody said, well, that's pretty freaking cool, man. That's kind of, that's all right. And we just rolled with it, man. And that's it.
Well, right.
But,
Go ahead.
It all just comes back to like a tip of the hat to like our favorite bands that we grew up listening to.
Uh-huh.
Like what Paul said, Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers,
Sure.
Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band, Elvis Costello and the Attractions. We could just go on and on
Oh, yeah.
about it. So it's really our way. And when it comes down to it, how many bands are out there that has the stones to do something like that? You know what I mean?
Not
Without coming up
many.
with a band, a one-word band name.
No, right. No, not many. That's why it was interesting when I saw it. I was like, yeah, I kind of steer away from that question, but I definitely want to ask about it because your band.
Well, it's hard to put on a like we played venues and it just said Paul Johnson.
Right.
I'm like, oh crap.
No,
They
I
don't have
know.
enough letters.
I come
They
with
don't
a
have enough
band.
letters to put it on there. And it probably might not have been the most marketable thing, but it definitely stands out, I think.
Yeah, for sure. So your band has been compared to a lot of classic gritty rock from generations up to 40 years ago to 20 years ago. How do you feel about those
Yeah.
comparisons and what creative platform do you stand on when coupling your influences with the music you want to make now with the band?
Well, I can tell you this. We're unapologetic about our influence because there's you can't like listen to any one song and say, oh, that's that. So I mean, we're perfectly fine because my whole thing is we want to follow the timeline of rock and roll. We're not trying to create a new subgenre for a certain demographic of people and just cater to that demographic. And like for me, I'm perfectly okay with our sound being able to identify with anybody because like what it boils down to at the end of the day for us is can someone sing our songs, at full volume going down the road with the window down. That's what it is for me. It's like I want people to just get full volume, sit down, on a freaking awesome day and just get off on it. That's what it boils down for me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Adding to what Paul said, all the bands that we've been compared with, I'm completely fine with. But one of the things that when I think back and listen to these bands that have been compared to is every single one of those bands, when I listen to those songs, I listen to like Surrender by Cheap Trick. It's like it's an escape.
Yeah.
If that makes sense for me. I remember it takes me back to the first time I ever heard that song.
God, you gotta love
so if our music does that same thing for somebody else, that's what it's about for us. It all comes down to the songs. We're an unapologetic rock and roll band, power pop band, whatever, we're being compared with. We're fine with that. One of my early idols, even being with the drummer, was Nikki Sixx, and Nikki Sixx made a comment and a quote that said, that we're not out to reinvent the wheel, but I would really like to leave a nice scar on the face of rock and roll with what we've done with it. Does that make sense?
No, that makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense. And that's why you can talk about these bands and know right off these names and know right off, the bands that they were a part of, music that they made, the genre that they affected and they influenced even up to now, like you guys.
Awesome. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm definitely a fan of hair metal and all that. So.
Yeah, and we're not ignorant enough to think that we're at anywhere close to that caliber, like that success or that. Like we're not ignorant to that. We just respect those artists and we respect what they were doing and where they came from and what music used to be to people.
Right.
And I'm guilty of romanticizing what music, meant then. And, you go out, buy the album, you stare at the album, listen to the songs, listen to the whole album, and I was like that, I got into a band, I bought the t-shirt, I bought the record,
yeah,
and, I got the poster, and I sat in there on my guitar for 3 hours, learning their material, just engulfed in it, and so I just have a romantic, like, outlook on music, and I just, and that's where that's coming from, it's not like I would never sit here and say that we're anywhere close to that, but it, I just, like, once again, if we could ever be, mean that to somebody, I'm looking at it like a kid who's sitting on his bed listening to his headphones. I'm not thinking like millions of people. I'm just always thinking about that kid and what it felt like for me.
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, wouldn't it be kind of fair to say that the motivation that you guys have to start this project is kind of the same as the motivation, or around the same kind of, I don't know, the same feeling, I guess, the same motivation that drew them to make the music that they did that affected generations and generations forward? I mean, I think you guys would still have that same motivation. You guys can have that same in common and still make great music that will affect 40 years from now. So I don't know.
Absolutely. I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah.
You know, the thing for me was, like Paula said earlier, like we come from that school of you get out, you suck in your garage with your friends, you write horrible songs.
You're right. You have to.
And you do that, and then you get out and you play it for people and you put the work in, and it's a grassroots thing. You know, no matter what happens with the industry, because it changes daily, it seems like, the grassroots things is always a guaranteed way for success. Whether you stay completely indie, end up signing with a major label, whatever the case is. And, you know, there's a lost art to that and that experience and what it provides to go get in a van with your best friends and live off of top ramen and peanut butter for 2 weeks. And it's the greatest 2 weeks of your life, where you got these kids now that get, you know, have GarageBand on your iPhone when you buy it. They play around with it, and then it's up on the internet, and then the next thing you know, they're touring, and they've never been through all that. So it's a lost art that those bands that we grew up listening to went through.
Oh, I mean, I think Nate wanted to say something, but I think he kind of like said what he was thinking, right? Oh yeah.
No, I was asking.
so.
I was asking a question. The comment that you had been stating about you starting in a group with your friends in a garage, and start sucking off there, and sucking there at your music, and then you go out and you perform with people, and you perform in front of people, and you grow and you grow and you grow. Was that Dave Grohl that said that? Because that sounds very familiar to me.
Yeah, Foo Fighters. That's one of your influences.
It's a very popular man with musicians.
It's a very popular statement, you know. Yeah, for sure that was Dave Grohl.
No, it's a great. That's a whole there's a whole bunch other to it, but it was very, very awesome that you pulled that up, because I really totally agree with that statement.
That's why he was pausing there for a second, because we were like, we recognize that from somewhere.
Yeah.
right.
Well, you guys are well versed in rock and roll. Then we appreciate
for sure.
That.
Oh yeah.
Awesome.
Oh man, it's our generation. Like I'm gonna be 36, but I listen to all that stuff. So, you guys debuted with a single music video from "Give Up the Ghost, Burn It Down." So it is definitely exciting time for the band right now. Give us some insight on the process of writing this song specifically, along with the creation of the music video as it unfolds with a definitely striking and fantastical storyline that touches themes of being bullied and standing up for yourself even.
Yeah, well, I think the writing process for me is pretty unorthodox, pretty, like what I do is I play guitar and I'm inspired. I like I said, I've spent a lot of time lifting, learning my instrument, been around for 3 hours, like, getting off the school bus and just doing nothing but living, breathing, sleeping, playing guitar. And when songwriting became my passion and my central focus, I tend to I play when I'm inspired to write. So if I'm inspired just lyrically doing anything, I don't care if it's riding a lawnmower or driving through my local coffee shop. If I get inspired, man, I start taking over kind of immediately. I'll go home. Sometimes I'll just make a voice note and sing a melody, and I'll go home and I'll translate that to guitar and I'll let it happen, and I'll record that. And, I'll do a little self-editing. It's got to the point where I don't really do a lot of self-editing. We kind of refine what we do. I send that to Zach, his ideas, comes with his drums parts, and then we just go in the studio, we hash it out, and we let it happen. And but as far as like how Give Up the Ghost came, it was that same thing. I just sent those voice memos, those recordings, to Tuck, our producer, in Atlanta, and he dug on them a while, sat on them, and had us come up, and we went to the rehearsal space and jammed on them, like we were like teenagers, for a whole day, just having a good time. We stayed over at his house, played them on acoustic, and, had a nice meal. It was a real family kind of environment. We just all hit it off like, really well. So I could tell the guy was just really passionate about the material. And then by that time we were in the studio with Dan Dixon, and he was engineering the thing, and he had some awesome ideas. And then, we recorded 4 songs in 4 days total, mix, master, everything out the door. So it was just work, and we're happy with the product. As far as the video goes, the video was, it was a concept I had because I was listening to the playback, and I just kept envisioning this, like, it's almost like this E.T. Stand By Me, kind of like just 80s kind of, nostalgic thing. And I just keep seeing these kids on bikes. I keep seeing like all this stuff happening, and I just all like my past, just the way I grew up, the bullying and things that all of us I think have experienced one time or another in our life in our adolescence. Because the song has this nostalgic feel to it.
It does.
And so that's what it generated in me, some of that I thought about. And so I just came up with the concept of it that I kind of wanted to make, a statement about that, but about bullying, but really more of just adolescence, coming of age, and just trying to find yourself. And this kid just happens to find stuff through his art. And his art comes to life, and his art is just distant, and he never loses his innocence. The monster winds up doing what he can't do, and he never dirties his hands. Mm-hmm. And it's just a really sweet story, and I was just real happy with it.
Yeah, I was also really happy with it. Well, as a viewer, so you want to definitely appeal to people like me watching this video, and you definitely got the message across because I felt the theme and what you guys were trying to convey in this music video. I love the 80s feel, the early on. I kind of got a little bit of the Where the Wild Things Roam. Is that what it's called? Yeah. Well, no, from the book. The book. Yeah, because the monster kind of looked like one of those monsters. So I love that stuff. So yeah, thank you guys for sharing that creative, perspective. I guess it's really, really an awesome music video, and I'm gonna definitely share it with you listeners after this interview. So definitely check back on our Facebook pages. So tell us about making the Deal with the Devil records. Did they find you, or did you find them?
That's I don't know. I think he, it's not a like record deal, and I'm using quotation marks for really cliche, like in a record deal, but it's what it is. It's a vinyl deal. Mm-hmm. These guys are going to press our vinyl and release it for us, and we're just super stoked about having our freaking music on an actual 180 gram vinyl record that people can get and put in their players and listen to, just like people used to do it. Yeah, it's a bucket list thing. It's like we never thought that we would have our record on vinyl, and we're just really, really excited about that. And they just provided us opportunities. We're very thankful for that.
No, that's awesome, man. That's got to be an exciting feeling. I've put out a lot of CDs and a lot of albums, but I've never put out an actual vinyl album, which would be a fun thing to do.
Yeah, same here. We've always went. We were the CD generation, I guess, for the most part. So like CDs was a thing, but we all had record collections. So it's just we all still listen to albums, and I think everybody listens to them now again. It's really refreshing. It kind of gives me hope.
Yeah, and I think a lot more people are actually listening to it.
One of the things about it, when Paul and I were in the pre-production phase, and then when we got into the studio with Dan in Atlanta, one of the things that really just kind of that batch of songs sonically just lended it to vinyl. Like you can envision someone, like you said, putting that on there, and just that sound that's coming across, even across YouTube and the music video, it's still got that nostalgic feel to it. So the songs just sonically lended themselves to it as well. I mean, that goes back to Tuck and Dan and Paul and I just sitting in the room and making it happen.
Right. Yeah. And there is definitely a sound. So all you, young kids out there trying to figure out what we're talking about.
Right. Well,
there's definitely a sound. I like it.
It looks, from what I'm seeing about Dan, it looks like Dan is definitely a good person to be working with.
Oh, Dan Dixon.
Oh yeah.
I knew Dan back in my Atlanta days when after I left school and spent some time up there. He was one of the guys I got in the scene, and he had a band at the time called the Drop Sonic,
Yep, I was
that
just
I was
looking at
just,
him.
dude, I was just such a huge fan of that band, and to have the opportunity to go in there, he's got a phenomenal band called Please Please now that just dropped a record called Jet Black that's awesome.
Nice.
You know, and
Nice.
the thing about it was with Dan, you know, he just gets it. He's an amazing songwriter. So it was like, you know, putting Paul, who I just have on a pedestal. I mean, Paul basically emotes what I'm feeling through his lyrics. So it's just such an easy way for me to relate. But you put Paul in a room with Dan, who's an amazing songwriter, then Tuck, who's a, you know, besides being one of a close friend of the band, is an amazing songwriter with his band.
Mm-hmm.
You put that in the room and everybody's all on the same page. It happens. It's just one of those things.
Right.
Yeah, and that's an awesome
Yeah,
feeling
and
when you got that much going on and everybody's, you know, vibing and feeling it at the same time.
Yeah. And that was
yeah, and that's what it amounted to, you know. And it wasn't just like we had this big songwriters like meet session. It was just the fact that we were all songwriters, so we all kind of understood why we were there, and it was about the song. It wasn't about anything else. I mean, there was not an ego setting in the room. So that was what it was like to me. It's just refreshing.
so Zach and Paul. A lot of bands nowadays, they are choosing to remain DIY or independent, however they want to call themselves, versus signing to that traditional record deal that everybody, you know, kind of desired back, you know, in the heyday, I guess I would like to say. So how do you guys feel about that? Do you feel that bands nowadays can just cut out the middleman and just do pretty much everything themselves?
Well, I mean, it goes back to kind of what we said earlier about being self-started. You kind of have to be an entrepreneur now. You kind of have to learn everything and do and pretty much do everything. But at the end of the day, it still takes a village. If people don't come to your shows, it doesn't matter. So, I mean, it's really like almost like community outreach at this point. You know, you have to be the guy that lets people know you're in a band and you have music. And so, I mean, that's the motivation is like you have to be passionate enough to get out there. So I don't fault any band whatever route they want to take, whatever route they believe is best for their art and their passion. You know, I think that they would just be doing themselves an injustice not to go there.
Mm-hmm.
It just can't be motivated by the wrong things. But, you know, who's to say what that is? I'm not in their band. I mean, I'm in this band and we have our own, you know, vision. But
I think one of my thoughts on that is, quite frankly, with the way things are nowadays, you know, these major labels with like 360 deals and things like that, they've scared off bands from wanting to sign with a major because, you know, records aren't being sold. So, you know, you're going out on tour, busting your ass, and then somebody that's sitting in an office is getting a cut for it. Does that make sense?
And a major cut,
and so
too.
the thing, right, yeah, huge cut. You know, they get merch, they get your album sales, and they get profits off of your, you know, ticket sales. So that's motivated a lot of bands for doing it yourselves, and all power to them. I mean, that's Paul and my mentality, period. But at the same time, there gets to a certain point where you need that extra push that only something like a major label could provide for you. So at that point, it's your decision which route you want to go. You know, I always crack up at the term sellout, you know, because a band signs and they, you know, now they're a sellout. You know, when Green Day went major, they were called a sellout, stuff like that. You know, if you know the story, it got to the point where the label they were signed to before just couldn't handle the amount of business and where they were going with it. So they had to make that. So any band that wants to go out there and do it yourself, all power to you. Mm-hmm. You know, that's how we are. If you're able to sustain in this industry and playing music and have a life and completely do it yourself and go completely indie and do that, you know, awesome, great, you know, but you shouldn't look down on the bands that are wanting to try to go after a different, you know, in their minds, a different form of success. You know, it's just like what Paul said earlier. It's the motivating. It's what's behind it. You know, for us, we want everybody to hear our music. Everybody. You know, so if the job that we need done can only be done by a major label, to get our music to everybody, because, you know, if it's to everybody and it hits that one kid, that's what matters.
Mm-hmm.
So you just got to make that decision and say, okay, well, what do you have to do?
Yeah. Definitely. Right. I mean, that's some really good advice, actually. You know, I was going to ask you guys later about what that piece of advice would be for new bands that are starting out in today's music industry, because it's so very different than 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. You know, it's so many things. It almost changes by decades. It seems like just completely different world. And we're just so oversaturated, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Yes.
just like, oh my gosh, how does real talent, and I mean that's subjective. I mean, you know, people,
Understood.
but
But
I
I know
mean,
what you're talking about.
it's so difficult for bands that are out there, you know, kicking ass and working their asses off, you know, to make us, you know, highlight themselves amongst all this in this industry. So, I
Yeah, I
definitely
mean,
give
and
you guys props.
I think what you know, because what you run into is like anybody can stick a camera in front of themselves and make a YouTube video, and you know, and if they do something either exciting enough or good enough or whatever, you know, they may get some really good exposure. Meanwhile, you have a band that's been around, you know, 10 years, playing clubs, with, you know, 10 people, but they just happen to be maybe, you know, they could be the next Nirvana and nobody would ever hear about it. And so, you know, you just have, I mean, it's like a two-edged sword. On the one hand, you know, just like anything, it's a beautiful thing because there's no monopoly necessarily. I mean, there's still, I'm believing there's still a monopoly, but necessarily because you can get your stuff out there, but at the same time, how do people hear it when it, you know, it's not silly or funny enough or crazy enough or dramatic enough or violent enough to go viral or whatever it is, or if it's not the thing happening in this 15 minutes of like whatever's, you know, because it is so oversaturated and things change so fast. And it's, you know, it's like the job of trying to keep up with that is taxing, and I don't want to ever have to be that guy that's just trying to keep up with what's going on. I just, when it comes down for us, it's like, okay, what matters is what we're creating in this room, and we're just going to do it old school, and we're going to get out there and play it to people.
Right, right. Much respect for that.
Yeah, I've definitely noticed the same thing as far as, you know, it's so quick. People pick up a song and drop a song in a matter of days now because the next song that's hot is out, you know, 2 days later.
Oh, yeah.
So true.
Yeah, it's
music has just become a disposable thing. It, you know, there's that one band that has a lot of success, and then the next thing you know, you've got 30 watered down versions of that band and that song that happen to be a hit on the radio. So it's just getting so disposable now. And where is the real songwriting and the real, just, you know, students of the craft, if you will?
Right. And honestly, I think
the cool thing is it's out there.
Right. And I think that's why most artists are choosing to release singles now versus whole albums too, because they have to kind of keep up with.
More thing, yeah. It's a less is more because they are trying to keep up. You're absolutely right. They are trying to keep up with this, you know, like this fast food kind of mentality of I want it now, I want it right now, I want it just cheap, which is most of the time free with music, and then I'm on to the next thing. And so, I mean, longevity is just like super, super, super hard.
Yeah.
But
and because of it being so disposable, bands are going to singles and EPs because they're able to release more material at a time to be able to stay relevant and stay current. Because, you know, a band back in the day would drop a record and then they'd be on the road for 2.5, 3 years. And again, it just goes back to this disposable climate that we live in, where a kid can, you know, hop on his phone and click a Spotify app and there's your record.
Yeah.
And there's, you know, 20 million other records. So bands are going to that so they can keep music to stay current.
Yeah, yeah.
Totally.
Right. And I kind of, I don't know, I don't want to drag this out too much, but it almost like feels sad to me. I feel sad because it takes away from that raw music, the writing of the music and the processing each song and actually making things that are, you know, I don't know, like relatable to people, like meaningful, I suppose. But I think you guys are doing really, really well so far. I mean, you guys have been getting awards, were nominated for awards, rather. So tell us about this Best Live Musical Act 2017 Festival South Awards.
Last year, I put out like an official solo record where it was more Americana. It was paying tribute to my hometown. It's called Property of Jones County. And it was just me and my acoustic guitar, like, you know, remembering songs that I used to listen to with my dad, you know, when younger, kind of outlaw country kind of thing. And I'm like Waylon, kind of like one of my idols, you know, Johnny Cash, you know, and stuff like that. And that's what I grew up on before I got into punk rock. But it's like, that was what that was. So I put that on there, and we got nominated for, you know, album of the year and song of the year. So it was like, that was kind of crazy. And then this year, you know, we got voted live band, but it, you know, and which I'm really happy about, because now I am back in a band. Like, this is a full on band, and it just feels really cool just to say, you know, this is a band effort. You know, this is people coming to our shows here, and they're digging on us. It's, you know, so I'm very thankful.
Yeah, congratulations, you guys.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Good work.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
really,
you.
really good work. So anything else you guys like to add or take the time to promote about the band?
Well, I mean, you know, like, definitely, I mean, there's just two, you can like play like a real cheesy like morning show, like a thing after I say this or something, you know, just like a little, you can ring a bell or something. I mean, but, you know, definitely check out, you know, PaulJohnsonMusic.com. You can stay up with us on our social accounts. You can follow us personally. You can, you know, you can watch the video. You can, you know, check our music out. I mean, you know, Burn It Down's available right now on iTunes. So, I mean, just like, follow, share. And if this is something you're into, man, and you love rock and roll, go check it out, man, and support the band.
That's awesome.
Yeah, awesome. How about you, Zach? Anything you'd like to add?
Paul more or less nailed it on the head for me, man. I mean, it's, you know, Paul and I joke with each other so much. You know, we'll be talking and complete each other's sentences, and we'll just sense each other, you know, the whole separated at birth kind of thing. So Paul more or less knocked it out of the park on that.
Oh, you guys are so romantic. Going back to that word.
Yeah, we have man crushes.
Aw, bro love.
Well,
love.
I know
We're
that
gonna
we
get matching green tattoos.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, Paul has a lot of those tattoos. I notice all the tattoos that Paul has going on.
Yeah, Paul's inked up. I'm inked up. I think we're the resident tattoo connoisseurs in the band. So my goal is to be sleeved by the end of the year and then both my arms are done. Paul's right now, I'm feeling like I've gotten pressure on me to beat me.
Oh man, well we're all inked here, so
awesome.
Good company.
Well, I know that we've got the Burn It Down song, so I know we're going to be playing that at some point in time in the show tonight.
Right, we're going to actually get it done as soon as we're done, and we're definitely going to share it on our Facebook page. Thank you so much for joining us on the show tonight, you guys, and for all those listening that would like to learn more about Paul and the About Last Nights, check out the band on all social media platforms, including their YouTube, to stay updated on all the new music visuals that are coming out soon from their debut album, Give Up the Ghost, and all other future projects that the band has in store. Thanks so much, you guys. This was really fun.
Thank you for having
Thank you for taking the time, guys. It means a lot.
Oh, yeah. Means a lot.
It's our pleasure, for sure.
Yes, our pleasure. So, yes, definitely keep in touch with us. If you guys are ever in Arizona, definitely like to check you guys out.
Yeah, we're looking to try to do something in Phoenix, so we'll holler at you guys for sure.
All right.
Awesome.
Sweet. All right, you guys, well, take care and have a great night.
All right,
thank you guys. You be safe.
Yeah.
Okay, bye.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and get into Paul Johnson and the About Last Nights with Burn It Down. Now, this is the audio version that you're going to hear, but you can go on, like Isabel said, and see the YouTube music video for this music video, and it's apparently really good.
We talked about that earlier in the interview. Has that definitely 80s feel to it, rock and roll vibe, classic rock, gritty rock. The theme is very inspirational. Stand up for yourself, anti-bullying. So definitely check this out. Give them a like on their Facebook page. I'm going to go ahead and share all the important links on our Facebook page now. So if you're on your PC or on your mobile phone, just go ahead and link up to them now.
And subscribe to their YouTube.
Yeah, subscribe, because sometimes you're not able to get the notifications unless you subscribe and hit that bell.
And, there is actually something I'm going to say on top of that. So,
what's that?
If you can't purchase music and you are one of those people that's listening to Spotify, that's actually awesome. Just make sure that you're listening to the bands that you want to hear, not just letting Spotify tell you what to hear. Because you do actually, the musicians are making a certain amount of money. I mean, not a lot. It's fractions of a penny.
Right.
But you do get paid per stream. So that's the one good thing about it, is that even though it's technically free music, because you can hear everything, the people that you're playing are getting paid, even if it be less than a penny. But
right. Very true.
Hundreds of thousands of streams end up being at least, more than a penny. So
right. And this keeps them making what you love, and that's music. That's why we're all here, to support music and support those artists. So definitely do what Nate says, and just give them some love, you guys.
Yeah, purchase some music, listen to their music,
Right.
like it, subscribe to it. So here we go. Paul Johnson and the About Last Nights with Burn It Down.